Without further ado, once again, thank you for being here at our inaugural summit. I'd like to welcome the President and Chief Executive Officer of Northwood University, Dr. Kent MacDonald.
Hey, Ted. Good morning, everyone. Very quick welcome, warm Northwood welcome to all of you here today. We have industry leaders, community leaders. We'll have media representatives here. Automotive News will be telling the story. Faculty, staff, colleagues, most importantly, our amazing students, the future of this fast-growing industry. So this is the beginning of the 61st International Auto Show. I'm going to introduce Alex in just a minute. I hope you have an opportunity to walk our beautiful grounds. I will say a few things about Northwood, that you are sitting at a very different university. This is a university with huge momentum right now, with enrollment growth continuing to go up, including in this particular sector. We're providing more and more graduates that are needed by people like you, and we're proud of that. We continue to offer a run with no debt. We have a huge set of announcements coming up, including a significant $20 million infrastructure investment so that our students have the best learning spaces, our faculty have the best teaching spaces that they can have to develop the next generation of talent. We have Ted Ings from Fixed Ops Roundtable, has become a great friend of Northwood, and Ted will be facilitating this session today, our inaugural session. Mr. Dahl is in here, and we're just so proud to have you here, sir. This is another Leadership's Insight session. Just last week, we had Dr. Gad Saad, the author of several books on campus. We have had Chris Clements, the CFO, Executive Vice President of the Miami Dolphins. We've had people like the CEO of Dow Industries here, and we're trying to expose our students to the best thinkers and the best leaders. And in this particular industry, the fact that Mr. Dahl has given up his time to be here, we're just so pleased. So we'll look forward to your conversation this afternoon, as well as all of the speakers here today. So I'll stop there. With that, welcome to Northwood University. This is a special place on America's university campuses, and it's mostly because of the incredible, talented students we somehow every year continue to attract from across the country and around the globe. And one of those people is the general chair of our International Auto Show. Imagine this small university hosting the largest outdoor auto show in the country of new cars, all run by students. Hundreds of students get involved in this, and it's led by a great young man, Alex Mazon. So Alex, over to you.
Thanks. I think we're all good here, huh? All right, awesome.
Thank you, Dr. MacDonald. I just want to say welcome to Northwood University if you haven't been here before. I mean, what a weekend to join us. What a way to start our beautiful weekend on campus for our auto show. Over the last 12 months, me and some of my executive board, I think some of us are still in here. If you want to raise your hand, here we go. We've been planning this weekend, like I said, for the last 12 months, and over the 12 months, endless efforts go into it. So it's finally here. We're finally really excited to have you guys join us, and I don't think there's a better way to kick it off. So with that being said, I'll bring up Dr. Matt Bennett. Thank you, guys.
Well, it's a testament not only to Alex's leadership, but with all the members of our executive board. Please stand. In the back, I see a lot of you. These students run this show, to Alex's point, for the culmination of about a year. So let's give them a round of applause. A couple other folks I'd be remiss not to mention, just who are part of this inaugural summit from the development side, from the implementation side. We have Mr. James Odell, member of our Aftermarket Education Committee with our University Aftermarket. And we have Mr. Steve Gorham in the back, who's an integral member of our Automotive Marketing and Management team. Thank you. So with that said, I've been advised to do some logistical requests. For those that do not have your cell phones silenced, we ask that you please do so. This event is being recorded and will be available to the masses as we conclude. But without further ado, it is a privilege to welcome a dear partner and has become a friend of Northwood University, Mr. Ted Ings and his colleague, Sarah Vantine, as we begin panel number 1.
Welcome to Northwood University. This morning we are at the International Auto Show here at America's University, and our first panel, kicking things off, Ted Ings, who do we have with us today?
Great honor to be here at Northwood, and I'd like each of the panelists to introduce themselves. We'll pass the microphone, and we'll start with this gentleman right here.
Well, good morning, everyone. My name is Steve Park. I'm from NADA, based out of the NADA headquarters in Tysons, Virginia. I'm the Senior Vice President of Dealership Operations, and in that department, I'm responsible for all things education, training, consulting, in dealership consulting. I think the two programs that the industry is most familiar with is the NADA and the ATD Academy, as well as 20 groups. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Cavanaugh. I'm a vice president at Lithia and Driveway. I oversee a lot of the stores here in the middle of the country for Lithia. I'm a Northwood grad, bachelor and MBA, so proud Northwood grad. Happy to be back here and looking forward to the conversation.
Good morning. My name is Bob Kron. I'm the president and COO of the Rydell Company. We're a group of about 100 rooftops across 18 states, and I'm based out of Minneapolis. Excited to be here, and big fan of Northwood University.
I'm Brian Benstock from Paragon Honda and Paragon Acura in Queens, New York. White Plains Honda too. I sell Hondas. We sell lots of Hondas, and we service Hondas, and I'm really excited to be here.
Gentlemen, thank you for being on this panel today. To kick things off, Brian, I'll come to you with the first question. There's a lot of key challenges the industry is facing right now. What is your perspective on what dealers need to be paying attention to?
Well, I think you've got to lean into innovation. I think you've got to lean into what's happening in the inevitable. You know, what you know in advance, prepare for in advance. And the BEV revolution is not going anywhere. And I think a lot of us dealers have been pushing back on BEV. I think it's time that we embrace BEV and the technology. The technology is exploding at unprecedented levels. AI is no longer a buzzword. It's in everything that we do. And I think the more that we can embrace that, the more that we can be a part of the evolution instead of being looked over. And, you know, we've got competition coming from China, unprecedented competition coming from China. We've got to be aware of that. There are over 200 auto manufacturers looking to come into our business. So I think that those are some of the concerns that I have. Steve, if I may ask you the same question. Key challenges.
I think given my swim lane in training and education, I think one of the challenges, which is also an opportunity, I think, for this industry, and hopefully it resonates with the audience here, is human capital management. And what I mean by that is, the next generation, the Gen Zs, and how they can acclimate to a corporate culture within retail automotive, as an example. As we all know, there's a lot of consolidation that's been going on in the car segment. And with that, small auto groups have now become medium size have now become large. And in essence, some of these organizations are operating like corporations. And so when the next generation millennials and Gen Zs are entering the workforce, they want to know more about career development, professional development. Where do I go from here? It's not so much about the pay plan as what it was 20 or 30 years ago, right? And so how does our industry adapt to that and embrace this next generation?
And Steve, one of those larger groups is Lithia. I'm curious, Mike Cavanaugh's perspective.
Sure. So I'd say one of the unique challenges that we've got in the industry right now, particularly on the retail side of the industry, is embracing our role in kind of the hospitality business. I think we don't realize sometimes that this is a hospitality business that we're in, whether we're on the retail side and we're selling cars and selling F&I products to customers, or whether we're on the service side and we're actually taking care of customers. But our primary role, I think, and we've got some great manufacturer partners that are represented in the room here as well, that I think we've learned a lot from in terms of our important role when it comes to retaining customers and keeping customers happy, is we have to embrace that piece with hospitality and really care for our customers, love our customers. If we want to see continued growth in the industry, and we want to see, people continue to stay with the brands that we represent. We have to do an excellent job as the face to the customers. So I think that's the biggest challenge, is we have to continue to not only train on hospitality, but hire people that actually care about customers, that love customers, that want to care for people, not just, love cars or want to service cars, but they actually care about customers.
Bob, what would you say are the key challenges the industry is facing now from your perspective?
When I look at a question like this, I start internally and look at our company and look at myself and say, what can I control and what can we control that we can have an impact? And I think there's a lot going on right now with the businesses that we have to protect our businesses and work really hard on protecting our assets and our people. And there's a lot of vulnerabilities right now in the market with cyber attacks, with some sensitive information that we hold as automotive dealership, and we have to be really diligent in making sure we're protecting our assets and protecting our people, and so that's a big thing on our mind right now. But from a business side, I look at as a personal service agreement with their manufacturers, that our job is to represent the brands, and when I think of that, the last couple of years were easier. And we were able to sell everything we had, and they went quickly. And when we look at our execution plan, we have a strategy we believe in, we have an operational plan, and we have people. And right now, I hear people saying we have process evaporation in our stores. We're not repricing our cars like we should. We're not doing multi-point inspections. People are just not doing the things we need to do. We've developed some bad habits over the last couple of years. And I'd challenge people in our group to say it's not process evaporation, it's leadership evaporation. And when you look at the idea of holding people accountable, I don't agree with holding people accountable. I agree with helping people succeed. So we're really challenging our leaders right now to say, what are you doing as a leader? And how are you creating an experience for your people and your team that's going to create belief, so then the score kind of takes care of itself and they take the action they need. And we need to look in the mirror as leaders right now and say, how are we leading our people and how are we helping them succeed?
Brian, do you want to follow up on that?
Well, I like what Mr. Cavanaugh said, and I like what the gentleman next to me said. I think we are in the hospitality business, and it's such a great understanding. No wonder why he's so successful. The customers are not comparing their experience that they have at our dealership versus another dealership. They're comparing our experience with every other experience they've had wherever they go. So we've got the competition is an Amazon experience. It's what happens at Apple and Google, not just how we did compared to the dealership across the street. And I think the other part that you made, and I completely agree with, there's a lack of leadership. There's a lack of leadership at the top right now in the country, and I'm not getting political. There's a lack of leadership in business today, and there's a lack of leadership in our industry. It's been easy, and you could get away with things, and that causes decay, and that causes bad, sloppy habits. We're getting now back to those fundamentals of blocking and tackling and taking care of our clients. And I think that's, we've tried to stay on tune with them. My guys were saying, why are you so stressed all the time? And really pressing them every day. And the store was doing great numbers, but I kept leaning into them because this is not normal. I'm telling you, this past 2-3 years is not normal, and it's going to normalize. And how many people just got in the industry 2-3 years ago, and they don't know what normal is? And so that's been the challenge for us. And training and leadership are key. And Mr. Cavanaugh said something before. He said getting a general manager, the right manager in the store, takes care of a lot of the problems with the store. And I completely agree with that, because that's nothing less than leadership.
You've got some great retailers on this panel. We're very fortunate today. New York, Queens, New York, Westchester, New York. You've got Mike Cavanaugh from Lithia, and you've got Bob from Rydell in the middle of the country. So, and of course, NADA. I want to capture all of your perspective. Brian, key opportunities the industry faces. I've never known you to shy away from an opportunity, and I've seen you look at things as opportunities. I recall maybe 4 or 5 years ago, you mentioned now the Amazon experience, but bringing the car to the customer for service, okay? That was out-of-the-box thinking. Great timing. I don't think anybody realized that. You were way ahead of your time in doing that. But what are you seeing now in terms of key opportunities that we as an industry face?
Doubling down on convenience for the customers, doubling down on using technology outside of the industry, looking to the Googles, looking to the Amazons for solutions. I think when we look at each other for solutions, you get incremental growth, but when you look outside the industry and look at what the big aggregators are doing, you can get exponential growth. Ted, since we started the pickup and delivery in 2017, we've picked up over 200,000 customer cars for service, serviced the cars and put them back in their driveways, generating over $60 million in gross without the need for the customer to come to the store. And so we happened to get the timing right before COVID, but now it's time to lean into that.
Mike Kavanaugh, let me follow up with you. Key opportunities right now the industry is facing.
So key opportunities the industry is facing, I think there's probably an unlimited amount of opportunities right now that our industry has as a whole. One thing that we put a lot of focus on is consumer optionality, and that kind of piggybacks on what Brian was just speaking to as well too. And I've followed Brian for a long time, and I've learned a lot from him just following him on LinkedIn. So I would say, for any of the students in the room or anybody watching as well too, when it comes to innovation and taking advantage of opportunities, Brian is an excellent person to follow that I've learned a ton from. But mobile service is another one that I think is a huge opportunity. We've got a lot of Ford stores across the country, a lot of Ford stores here locally in Michigan as well too. And pickup and delivery is a great option, but mobile service, we've seen rapid growth across our stores with mobile service as well. And it goes back to that consumer optionality or that customer convenience. So I think whether you're leaning into doing remote deliveries with customers and delivering cars on the sales side to them at their home, or whether you're doing mobile service in their driveway or pickup and delivery, one size does not fit all. And I think sometimes when we lean in too much to one thing, we maybe can push away some customers, but we've got to give customers options. We've got a platform called Driveway, which is something that I launched early on in my career here at Lithia. And, we sell cars to customers in every state. We've shipped cars to customers in Hawaii, Alaska, everywhere. But it's a section of customers that's growing over time, that they're okay to purchase a car sight unseen and have it delivered to their home if they have some kind of option to return it. But we still see the overwhelming majority of customers that want to come into a dealership and they want to look at a car, they want to test drive a car, they want to have a great experience, they want to talk to somebody that they can trust. So I think from an opportunity perspective, we have to really look at it and say there is no one size fits all for customers, but we have to, constantly be experimenting. Again, that's something that I think I learned from Brian through the years as well, is just try things, experiment. You may not get it right the first time, but you've got to continue to try to experiment, listen to your customers. I get every single review from all of our customers at every one of my stores, especially the ones that are 3 stars and below, to learn where we failed our customers. And I think you can learn a lot and find the opportunities if you actually listen to your customer, right? We can come up with great, brain trust within our own organizations and think about what we think the customer wants. But if you listen, it's obvious where the opportunities are, and you just have to capitalize on them.
Bob Front, that might not. Maybe for start. This question is again, I think it goes back to leadership and the ability of our leaders to have the reputation of attracting and developing and retaining talent and being a champion for their lifelong learning. I don't know if there's a better industry for a person to grow and be a business leader and make a difference in a community. So we work hard on attracting talent, and we got to be better at it, because it took me 14 years to come to this industry because I didn't want to. I didn't think it was a place to be. And now I wish I would have started it right out of college, because it's the most dynamic, exciting business that I think a human being can be in. It's one of the largest industries in the world. So attracting talent and developing them and retaining them and exceeding their expectations for life is one of our priorities. The other part that we're really focused on, a big opportunity, is, we know the variable market, the new car market's going to be up and down, and it's only been up and down forever. So I think the market is strong, and the market is up and it's down, and we just got to maximize the new car opportunity. But the real opportunity is with fixed operations and used cars. And we used to have on our plans to hire more technicians, and we always complained about how hard it was to hire technicians. And we asked a simple question in 2018, we said, is your shop full? And it was a real scientific study. We walked through the shop in all of our stores at 4 o'clock. And we realized we had over 20% more capacity with the technicians that we had. And the challenge that we had was not around process or our strategy, but the problem we had was we created our own silos in our business. We have report cards for every one of our stores, and we had a report card for the parts department, a report card for the service department, a report card for the body shop, report cards for the BDC. And we built walls around each one of these businesses. And when we started this project, we realized with the extra capacity we had, and we were turning customers away at 3 o'clock. We didn't want to do carryovers. We had plenty of opportunity, and what we broke down was the silos. And it took us about a year in our stores to create what we called shared belief. And we had shared goals, and we got everybody thinking the same way. And we had the bottlenecks in the wrong spot. So it took a lot of work, and instead of just telling people what to do, we had to create belief. And the opportunity was to get people to believe in what they did, and the results are very impressive, and it's recession-proof in our business right now.
Steve, do you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I just want to touch on real quickly that I know it was mentioned earlier about BEVs and the EV industry. I think that is an opportunity. And what I'm sharing is not only what we talk about back at NADA, but it's what we're hearing from our NADA membership through our academy and our 20 group dealers. And they really feel that it's time. It's really time to lean into BEVs. It starts with your people. It starts with training, not just in the front end with your salespeople, but throughout the dealership. Matter of fact, I know there's a Chevy dealer in town here who's actually trained all their dealers. Yes, adoption has been slow. Yes, infrastructure development has been slow, but it is coming, number one. And number two, the average price point of a BEV has been somewhere in the neighborhood of $65,000. Well, that's starting to drop over time. As a matter of fact, if you look at a Chevy Equinox, I think the last time I checked, they sold 30,000 units at around a $40,000 or just under a $40,000 price point.
$99 a month.
There you go. So my point is, in this industry, it is important to be opportunistic. And yes, the supply was far ahead of the demand, but just, with the EPA and the de facto mandate, which is in place right now, to be at 26% BEV by 27 and 56% by 32. And those are very aggressive and unrealistic numbers. But directionally, I think this country is going to be headed that way regardless of our administration.
We've talked about the challenges, the opportunities, and now want to pivot a little bit into the outlook. EVs. Brian, how should dealers be preparing right now?
Again, what you know in advance, you have to prepare for in advance. I was at the Honda plant in Marysville last week, and there's no question about it. They are committed. They're all in. There's a couple of $1 billion worth of manufacturing that's been set up. And so the responsibility is the dealers. Are we going to be a part of the process, or are we going to be an impediment? And I think a lot of the concern from government administrations is that the dealers are not on board. We are in Queens, New York. We are in a metro area where there's no place to plug the cars. And I was concerned, how is Paragon going to be able to continue its leadership position? And what we did is we trained everybody in the store on the opportunity for BEVs, that it's coming, you can't avoid it. And I'm proud to say Paragon is the #1 selling EV Honda dealership in the nation. And I say that not because bragging about us being it is a very difficult market to be able to sell EVs because there's no place to plug the cars, but there is a demand there. So again, I think someone said, regardless of the administration, it's coming, and I think we need to prepare for that. And the best thing you can do is social proof. Get your people driving BEVs. Get the people that sell BEVs to drive a BEV. Because how are you going to tell me about a BEV if you've never experienced it yourself? And I think that's really been one of the keys to success for us. I never thought I'd be talking about bets.
Mike, your perspective, what outlook and what dealers should be preparing for?
Definitely a hot topic over the last, probably year or two. We have a privilege to represent, I think, every brand that makes an EV. And we took a step back a couple years ago and thought, how can we be an industry leader here? And we started we've got a website called Green Cars, greencars.com. If you've never visited it before, take a look at it. We've got about 16,500 EVs, PHEVs, hybrids on the website, and really made it an educational resource for customers as well too. So I think to kind of build off of what Brian was saying, you have to get your team holistically to be educated on EVs. They need to drive them. We had a big event here recently where we took our Green Cars team and brought them in with all of our stores locally here in Michigan, and had them drive almost every EV you can drive, up and including to a Rolls-Royce Spectre, to really understand that there's all kinds of EVs that fit different people's needs. And I think there really isn't an option but to embrace this. And you can either be a leader or you can be a laggard. And I think if you decide to be a leader in EVs right now, you can get ahead of the game and you can become known as the place that does specialize in EVs. And again, even if there's a little bit of a slower growth than maybe what we would have projected originally, I think I would almost always rather be the expert than be somebody who's trying to, do this a little bit half-cocked. So I think you have to embrace it. You have to make it easy. I think a lot of our manufacturer partners are stepping up and they're starting to help make the process of getting a charger installed in someone's home easier. I think, a dealership has a big role in that as well, too, because there's only so many vendors that do that. But, to really understand what a customer's concerns are, it's not necessarily always range anxiety, but it has to do with, how easy is this thing to, essentially refuel for us. And I was at a meeting a couple months back with the CEO of Ford, and he really painted a clear picture of, when automobiles started, dealerships had a role, and they had the role to, not only sell cars and service cars, but provide fuel as well. So in the early 1900s, dealerships also had fueling stations, right? So we're really not doing anything new when we start to, install the infrastructure to help provide charging for EVs as well. But I think there's a lot of roles that we in the retail side have to play. We just have to embrace that and truly become experts, because that's our job.
Bob, what would you say is your outlook and how dealers should be preparing for EV?
Well, we're excited to continue to create a great experience for customers. And when we're 100% behind with the manufacturers and what's important for our country. So there's no question about that. And we're making the necessary investments. I think the outlook is it's there, it's strong. I think the affordability issue is going to be addressed with better product coming out that's going to be attractive to all of our customers. So I think that's a big deal. Our facilities are ready. I think the thing that we really need to do, our outlook is dependent on how good our salespeople are and our sales managers and our service people at educating and being part of the solution in terms of talking about the options, because I think we have a ways to go there. And I think we have to be better prepared when a customer comes in and asks us key questions, because it's part of I think there's a learning curve still for a lot of people. And we have to take on that responsibility. So we're gonna continue to create a great experience with whatever the guest is asking for, and we're gonna support EVs. And I agree, we got to get people driving them. We got to get our salespeople driving them. We gotta be able to talk more about them and jump on that excitement, because they are. If you haven't driven one, they're pretty cool.
Can I just jump in? The shepherd's got to smell like the sheep, and we have to get our ownership driving the cars. I mean, I've got two. I need a BEV like I need a hole in the head, but to be able to talk about it, you've got to experience it.
Steve, what is your perspective from NADA, that EV outlook and how dealers should be preparing?
Well, I think it's kind of consistent with what all of us have said, and that is, you have to have firsthand experience with the vehicle. You have to not only think about the product, but also there's a fueling experience. And there's a lifestyle aspect of owning an EV as well. So as salespeople in the showroom, it's not just about the fuel economy or the range. I think the range, there's talk about range anxiety, infrastructure anxiety. I mean, there's all kinds of anxieties that you can focus your attention on. But really is, how does an EV fit in your family and your family's driving habits and the family's lifestyle, right? And so instead of coming across as more of a product specialist, come across as more of a transportation coach, right? And try to see if an EV actually makes sense for that family.
Okay, gentlemen, our last question for the panel today. We are here at Northwood University in Midland, Michigan. If you had an opportunity to speak to the students who are attending, some will be graduating, some have just graduated, alumni is here as well. What would you say in terms of suggestions to people now entering the automotive industry for the first time, coming into the workforce, and in terms of the needs for those students? Brian, I want to come to you first on that.
I think the automobile industry is the best kept secret in business. I started out in 1982 for a summer job till something better came along. It's 42 years later. I think you've got what we're looking for in people when we hire people is 3 I's, right? We're looking for intelligence, we're looking for integrity, and we're looking for intensity. And so lean into your education, keep your nose clean. Integrity is the bedrock, and then we're looking for intensity. I mean, you've got to be passionate about what you do, or don't do it. I think what we do is as important as what Michael Jordan did or what any athlete does. And I think you should have that. I like to look for people that have that intensity, whether they're selling coffee at Starbucks or whether they're selling cars in Woodside, New York, that they have intensity and passion for what they do.
Brian, give us those three I's again. Intensity?
Intensity, intelligence, and integrity.
Okay, love it. Mike Kavanaugh.
I would keep it pretty simple. I would just say find something that you love to do every day. You know, you're going to be passionate about it. And you're going to want to continue to learn. I think, you know, lifelong learning and continuing to want to, you know, passionately pursue whatever that you really love is important. So, I mean, there's so many jobs in our industry, right? You don't have to be on the retail side. You don't have to be on the manufacturing side. You could be in the auto finance side. You could be in the technology side, the vendor side. There's so many different things to do in an industry if you love this industry, but do something that you love so you look forward to going to work every day. I'm really blessed because I feel like I look forward to going to work every single day. I love what I do. I almost feel guilty because I love my family, but sometimes I don't want to leave work because I love what I do so much. And I've never felt like it was a job or a grind or something I had to do. So I'd say look for something that you legitimately love doing every day, and you're going to be a happier person. You're going to enjoy life. You're going to be better at what you do, and then you'll make more money. But don't make a decision on this is what I'm going to get paid the most to do right out of college. And remember that, you know, what you decide to do right out of college doesn't necessarily dictate what you do for the rest of your life. You can change jobs 4 or 5 different times and eventually find exactly what you want, but do what you love.
Steve?
I say my parting words would be, you know, leadership titles are just titles. You can be a leader at any level within your organization, regardless of what role you are. Service advisor, parts manager, wash rack. I mean, it's all about attitude, and it's about knowing that you can be a leader and agent of change within your organization. So for all you upcoming graduates and students out there, it doesn't matter where you are in your life. If you have an opinion, don't be shy, speak up.
And Bob, bring us home.
I think it's natural when you're in college to think I have to get a job and I have to start paying off some bills and I need to go to work. And that's important. I really think of, when I talk to people starting out, you know, you have to establish what I'd call a set. You need to develop skills, you need to develop experience, you need to work on your traits and develop your traits. And I think, especially the Northwood students here, you guys have a great experience, the men and women here, and you're getting a great experience, and life is all about experience and taking advantage of internships and listening to the people you get at these programs that Northwood offers. And so you really need to work on your experience. And I think that the real question is not what job do you want, but you're not too young to start thinking about a dream. And instead of thinking what job do you want, you got to think about what kind of life you want to have. And so I like to ask the question, what's your dream? And a lot of times people don't know the answer, or what's your purpose? And next thing you know, you're going to be like me, 60 years old and a grandpa. But I've had a dream, and I feel like I'm living a dream in the automotive industry. And you got to align yourself with somebody who has values. That's why we're aligned with Northwood, because we have similar values. And you got to find somebody who's going to be a champion for your lifelong learning. You got to find somebody who's going to do everything with honesty and integrity. You got to find somebody who's going to encourage you to make a difference and give you a responsibility for something. And then you have to find somebody who's going to support your family. You have to find somebody who's going to give back to your community. And when you get those things, it doesn't really matter what you do. If you have a dream and you work towards that dream and work on having a great life.
Everybody, please give it up for this fine retail panel. Thank you. We're at Northwood University, everybody. We're going to be coming right back.
American colleges are bulging at the seams today as hundreds of thousands of young people try to get college training to qualify them for jobs. The competition is intense. What makes Northwood different from other colleges?
Northwood is particularly different because of its approach to the business world.
We're here live at Northwood University. We are at the International Auto Show at the CAM Summit, America's University. And our panel today, Ted, we are going to be talking about dealer business management. Who do we have with us today?
And Sarah, I'm very honored as well because we've got some great names in our industry with us here today. I'm going to have them introduce themselves, starting with Jeff, and tell us who you are and what you do.
Thank you, Ted. Thank you, Northwood, for having us. A lot of energy on this campus, and you should be really proud of what you've accomplished here. My name is Jeff Beals. I'm the Senior Vice President of Professional Services at CDK Global. I'm responsible for implementation of hardware, software, in our consulting business.
And just hand them. Sure.
Good morning, everybody. Happy to be here. I'm Tom Kline. I'm lead consultant and founder of Better Vantage Point. I'm a former dealer of 30 years. I do risk and compliance consulting, and I like to say that running a dealership is like trying to tuck an octopus into bed, but the tentacles keep flopping all over the place. So I'm the guy who tucks the tentacles. Great to be here.
Rebecca?
Hi, Becky Chernek here. It's a pleasure to be here with the folks here with Northwood University. And so I've been involved in the automotive industry for my entire career, starting out with my father, who had a Cadillac and Pontiac dealership, and worked my way up the ladder into F&I. And F&I I found was made for me, and I was made for F&I, and then later became a national F&I consultant throughout the USA, obviously, and Canada, and then later as a corporate F&I director, and currently now working with Agora Data. Thank you.
And I'm Brian Kramer. I'm the Executive Vice President of Cars Commerce, which we own Cars.com, Dealer Inspire websites, AccuTrade, Acquisition Tools, Fuel, in-market video, that whole suite of products. I spent 28 years in retail, 20 of those years running dealerships for the Genei Automotive Group and AutoNation.
Thank you, everyone on our panel today. Brian, I'm going to come to you first. You know, we are talking about the current economic concerns. There's things like interest rates that are at top of mind for customers. What should we be paying attention to?
Well, obviously a lot, and I'm of the belief that you can control any situation, and regardless of good times, bad times, it's a matter of what you can control, and there's enough controllables that you can control your way out of any situation. But on a macro level, I would say that for an affordability issue, I think that, we were talking about EVs a moment ago. I think used EVs are a huge opportunity. There's a lot of availability of those vehicles at the auctions, a lot of people not going after them. And it's a great vehicle. We see on Cars.com websites that 8% of the consumers are looking for an EV, a used EV, but 12% are actually transacting on a used EV. So what does that tell? That tells me that everybody doesn't know that they want one yet, but they do know that they can afford one as soon as they come in on a Camry or another vehicle, the Honda Accord. Once they come in on that vehicle, switching them to a Tesla Model S or something like that is, I think, something that every dealership needs to think about right now.
And I'll come to you, Jeff. So for your perspective, what current economic concerns should we be thinking about?
Yeah, I think, to me, every concern is also an opportunity. And when I look at historical downtimes and things that we're preparing for, it always comes back to fixed ops and how we can manifest better profits and resistance and resilience through fixed operations. So, my advice is to really focus on those areas, get tight in your fixed operations, your parts, because there's plenty of mitigations in those areas. And it's also a place where, you can really focus on a great customer experience and get customer retention and loyalty back to where it needs to be to maintain a successful dealership.
Tom, your perspective.
Thanks, Sarah. My perspective here is it's not necessarily how much money you make as a dealership, it's how much money you keep. And the current political and regulatory environment continues to be challenging for dealerships. And I think that will continue regardless of what happens in November. The FTC, the CFPB, all are more active You've seen a lot of regulatory actions. The attorneys general in the states are partnering more with the FTC, and I think now is a good time to make sure your house is in order from a compliance and risk perspective, to make sure that you can weather those economic problems when they come, or that you're prepared for problems actually before they get to the dealership.
Becky, what current economic concerns should dealers be paying attention to?
I like the idea behind understanding your cost of sale, understanding where you are at all times, and recognizing the importance of being able to back into the total cost of sale of selling a car to finance to fixed ops. I think many times we don't really take into factor the total cost of sale and how we're impacting our sales, and potentially the idea of keeping our customer in our own ecosystem and controlling that book of business, and how important that is, what one customer, to retain that individual, not only at point of sale, but also from later on, to retain that customer into service. And so when we drive that behavior of having a better understanding of the individual, our customer base, and understanding how we drive that business is going to be critical going forward. Thank you.
Yeah, Brian, go ahead.
One last thing, just to touch on what Bob Kron said earlier in the last session. He talked about used cars and fixed operations. Those are the two things that are controllable in any environment, any economy. And I don't think that enough dealers are focusing on 100% service absorption and tracking that and going after that relentlessly in order to prepare themselves if there is an economic downturn. That's the first thing. The second thing is used vehicle acquisition. Franchise dealers are getting squeezed and pinched by used car acquisition consolidators to acquire their consumers' trades. And that's the key to service loyalty and retention. So the look to book numbers and everything needs to be rethought and redefined. And everybody needs to look at, for how many new cars do you sell? What percentage of those have a trade? For every used car you sell, what percentage of those have a trade? And 43% is the average on new cars, and 28% is the average on used cars. Those numbers are way too low. It should be 70%. So if you're not at that number, you're a dealer and you don't know if you're appraising enough cars. And in many cases, new car franchises are appraising less cars than they're selling. So I would take a hard look at that across the whole country. It's a serious opportunity. That's how you galvanize yourself and insulate yourself from any economic external conditions.
So let me ask the panel, here we are squarely in the fourth quarter. And within a matter of just a few weeks, we'll blink our eyes, we'll be in a brand new year. And there's a lot ahead, a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change happening. So I want to ask the panel, I'll start with Brian Kramer. What are any of the concerns or opportunities you see on the horizon? And if some of you want to speak to things such as the regulations that are on the horizon, but opportunities and concerns that we may or may not be aware of, Brian Kramer.
Well, everybody I think is familiar with the CARS Act and, truth in lending, FTC violations, and all those sorts of things. I would already, if anybody who's not doing that needs to already be doing that, because it's the right thing to do. But overall, from a transparency standpoint, if you want to acquire more trades, you have to be more transparent. If customers don't want to spend as much time, you need to lead with transparency and just being, honest in your online merchandising. When it's gonna create more friction, take longer when the client arrives if there's a lot more add-ons and things that aren't fully disclosed. If the goal is to increase sales velocity, increase appraisal velocity, and increase service RO velocity, it's not only the right thing to do, they're going to force it down on I don't like regulations personally. I don't like anything being forced on me. I would rather see it as the profit opportunity. I look at it as a competitive advantage. But I would say at some point, everybody's going to have to do it. If you've already done the hard part of, retraining your staff, hiring for that, you're already ahead of the game. But everybody's going, it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when.
Tom Kline, you're doing a lot of great work on the compliance side. I want to ask you the same question. What do you see on the horizon in terms of opportunities, concerns, and perhaps even key regulations?
Thanks, Ted. compliance. Nobody likes compliance, right?
No.
If Brian said to his wife, I want dinner at 6 and you better comply, he'd be promptly divorced, right? So let's get a different paradigm a little bit for compliance real quickly. Compliance is simply someone has to do a thing, whatever that thing is, at some point in time and periodically, and then prove that it's done, right? That's what compliance is. And I think that the CARS Act that Brian mentioned, there's oral arguments in Texas in November. And I think that a ruling will be handed down in Q1 in 2025. What the CARS Act really does is it forces transparency into the sales process. Probably the biggest shift that if it passes, and I believe that it will, the biggest shift that you're going to see is that there isn't going to be, in my opinion, there won't be any more MSRP advertising, because processing fees or dock fees will have to be included in the advertised price. So that's going to create a shift not only for the dealers, how they advertise, how they think about advertising. It's also going to force all the website providers to be able to change, how all that looks. The disclosures have to be, quote, clear and conspicuous, which they're supposed to be already. So I think that there will be a lot of people who are scratching their heads and trying to figure out how to make that work from a retailing perspective, because it's going to shift how people retail cars, with the exception of some states like Georgia. Georgia already has that you have to have those fees included in advertised pricing. So, of course, I could talk about this for a long time. But
I have a follow-up for you.
Sure.
So, Tom, you mentioned the dock fee. Okay, there is very little, if any, consistency between dealers in terms of what they charge for things such as a dock fee.
Right.
And now there's going to need to be a need for disclosure, okay?
Right.
Where a lot of this is going to be more transparent. Talk to us about some of the roadblocks and challenges ahead that dealers can expect, because this is coming a lot quicker than people realize.
Right. Well, I mean, I think the first thing, and I've been in a lot of stores, and if you ask a salesman, say, hey, what's that processing fee for? And you'll get answers from, well, that's for the owner's boat payment, up to, well, that's the fee that's charged, and they try to go into a very uncomfortable, that's what we, and they really can't get it out. It's like, come on, you can do it. So I think some training in that area is going to be super important, obviously, to know what that really is and what you can and can't say, because certain states have certain requirements and regulations about what you can and can't say and what it's for, and is it mandatory or is it not mandatory? And in some states, the fees are capped. I think New York is one of those. I think $175. It's capped. So it really is going to depend a lot on what state the dealer is in.
Becky, these regulations, you are very much aware and on top of that, especially on the F&I and the finance and insurance side. Talk about that and what's ahead for dealers and what can we expect?
Well, actually, Tom and I had dinner last night, and we were talking about the compliance and our dealers really understanding their responsibility when it comes to compliance and rules and regulations. And are we in the trenches actually implementing the rules of engagement, I call that. And are we embracing those rules of engagement so that it is in our everyday process? And from someone who's in the trenches and recently, I can tell you we struggle with some of this. We struggle with having a better understanding, the education of understanding what our responsibilities are when it comes to doing the right thing. Are we above board? Are we being ethical? Do our processes and our culture match our mission to be ethical and upfront and transparent with our customers? And frankly, we do need to do a better job. It is important. Part of when I provided workshops throughout the country, I would always start off with, let's understand first rules of engagement. Once we can understand rules of engagement, we can understand these best practices. And until we understand rules of engagement, to understand the reasons why we do what we do, it doesn't come together. That's our challenge.
Jeff Beal, let me come to you.
Sure. Look, I'll kind of take a byproduct of what we're talking about with transparency. I think we learned a lot from what transparency success looks like, particularly in fixed ops, when we've looked at things like video and really engaging the customer ahead of time to get them educated on what they have. Well, we're at a point in time now where the consumer is going to be more educated than ever, and it's time to prepare. It's a time now where, as we prepare for these regulations, that you can have training with your sales staff, get a more consultative approach, because your customers are coming in now with more information than ever, and being able to have those approaches, have that transparency, and really give a consultative approach. I heard a lot of great talks in the last panel about hospitality. We are a hospitality business, and now that differentiator is going to be more important than ever, both from a profitability standpoint, selling and servicing more vehicles, but also adapting to some of these new rules and regulations that are coming out that are going to affect our industry. So to me, it's embracing the things that we've been successful with, transparency being one of those things. And I think there's a lot of opportunity to turn something that could be a little bit uncomfortable into something that's wildly successful.
We're here at Northwood University with our audience today, many of whom are students at Northwood University. And one of the things, Brian, I think I'll come to you to ask this. There's a lot of challenges today on employee recruitment and how do we get people to work in our dealerships that are going to make our customers, want to be loyal and come back to us. What do you feel would be some of the challenges that we're seeing today, and how can we address them?
Well, I would say obviously there's a technician shortage, there's a labor shortage. Finding younger sales associates that are drawn to this industry to work, evenings, weekends, has always been a challenge. Where I'm at in Florida, we're open on Sundays, pretty much every dealership in the Southeast. So it's always a challenge, but there's also opportunities within all those challenges. I think it comes down to, like the last panel said, leadership. And it comes down to people leave leaders, they don't leave jobs. But as the leader's job is, and I think it was said in the last one, is to attract, develop, promote, and retain talent. And if the leader isn't doing that, and there's some OEMs that are investing in that, there's a lot of dealers that are investing in that, but I think that it's not even, it starts with general management and obviously top leadership, but it's also the middle management needs training and needs to understand and provide clarity of expectations. When decisions are, or when expectations are clear, decisions become very easy. And I don't think there's enough clarity in this industry as to what the expectations are. That's the first thing. The second thing is you got to empower all of your associates. When I was in retail, we enabled them to appraise their own vehicles. They could take a deal, pretty much start to finish. So when somebody else tries to recruit them, which happened many, many times, and offer them more money, once they realized that they weren't going to be able to move as fast and get as much accomplished, and they had to wait and just, all this friction, they wouldn't leave. They wouldn't leave over money because now they're part of the culture. The third thing is you got to rethink schedules. There's service drive opportunities. The service drive, if you're a salesperson, is only, it closes at 5 o'clock. Maybe it should stay open later, but in most cases, that's the case. So why do they need to work nights? And why do they need to work Sundays? And why do they need to work every other or every Saturday? So I think that's a great way to bring people into the industry. It's a great way to, and service drive acquisition is a huge opportunity. It's almost like its own internet department that can operate on its own, but we've got to rethink schedules, enablement, empowerment, and just like customers, they don't like waiting around.
Becky, your perspective.
It's all about the leadership. It is all about why do I want to work for this company or this dealership? And people follow other people that are successful. We need to encourage that momentum for individuals, new folks coming in from education into the car business. What's in it for me? Why do I want to follow you? Be the leader that other people can learn from, are encouraged to grow. Set expectations, correct expectations, have a roadmap for success. One thing I'd like to also point out, don't make it a guessing game. give that individual all the support that we can to make sure that they can take ownership of the process of your culture and be there for them.
Jeff?
Sure. I think focus on three areas, and I was told once that if you hear something twice, it's probably the right thing. So some of this will be repeat, but to me, it's three key areas that we can really hone in on. One is training, and two is leadership, and three is flexibility. Similar to kind of what Brian was saying. If you look at training, in the absence of information, people become uncomfortable, particularly in a face-to-face interaction, which in our business happens quite a lot. So really investing in your team. I heard the word lifelong learning on the panel previously, and that's not a better phrase has been coined. I don't think you're always in a position to learn, and it's incumbent upon us, upon an industry, to provide opportunities for our associates to learn. We were fortunate to launch a professional certification program a few weeks back. That's been a huge game changer for us, and we're really excited about what that's going to do to help the industry. When it comes to leadership, again, I think it's all about how do you create that culture to keep people engaged and at your store, your group, or your enterprise. A lot of people in this room have worked at, like Brian said, at a company for their entire career. I've been fortunate to do the same for most of my career. And it's incumbent upon us as a culture to disseminate that leadership, to make people feel comfortable enough to stay, that they will be successful and they can take care of their family or their community as such. And then flexibility. I think we can learn from some of the other industries that have non-traditional hours, like healthcare and things like that, rotating shifts. It's important now to give people that flexibility, but also it's important for us to keep in mind that it's still a results-driven business, and we have to continue to make results, but offer that flexibility as well.
And Tom?
Thanks, Ted. I think I echo what everyone here said and second it. But I would say we need to pay more attention to two different areas. One is emotional intelligence, and the second is change management. People have a very difficult time with change, and people have a very difficult time understanding what emotional intelligence is and how to apply it. And so doing more training in those areas, I think, would be key to continuing. You hear of recent the words human capital, to invest in your human capital that way. And I'm also going to piggyback on one of the questions that Ted, that you or Sarah asked earlier, which is what advice would I give students? And this is along the same lines. Number one, listen more than you talk. You can't learn if you're talking. That's number one. Number two is when you are approaching a difficult situation and having a difficult conversation, have no tone in your voice. Sounds super easy to do, but if you're upset, or the other person is upset, or they're yelling at you and you're trying to handle a situation, speaking slowly and having no tone goes a long way. And I think that's important in terms of dealing with difficult situations.
Great job. Okay, let's have a lightning round. This is our last question. 30 seconds each, everybody. Maximum of 30 seconds. Along the lines of what Tom just answered, you're addressing the students at Northwood University. Here we are coming into the end of the year, a graduating class coming up in the spring. Piece of advice that you'd like to share with them. I'll start with Jeff. We'll go back to Tom, Rebecca, and we'll bring Brian Kramer to bring it home.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's just soak it all in. This is like any experience in your life. This will be one that you never get to relive, and have a great time with your friends, your peers, learn a lot. I agree. Listen, ask questions, be inquisitive. You got a ton. This is an incredible industry that's always willing to help, and just couldn't be prouder to be here and excited to see the energy in y'all's face. And congrats to all of you.
Tom?
I don't remember what the product was they were selling many years ago, but the phrase that comes to mind is "try it, you'll like it." And so that's what I would encourage the students to do, is try it. And don't be afraid to fail. You learn a lot from failure, generally more than successes. But go out there and try it, and don't be afraid to change if that course or that direction doesn't work for you.
So as I was saying this morning, when I got into the car business back in the day, women weren't supposed to sell cars. Women would not be successful in the car business. And I didn't take no for an answer. It was a dream. It was a vision. And I made it happen every step of the way. And there were times it's tough. It's not easy. And I can tell you sometimes at night, I would have cried myself to sleep because I made some stupid mistakes that I thought, wow, I don't think I can get over. And you go back and you face the next day and you push through and you make it happen. And you find the individuals that will help you, that will support you to push you through. And I will tell you, without a doubt, the car business has been the best business for me. And I know it will be the best business for you. Just take it, own it, and go with it.
All right. So people always ask me, what's the best franchise to work at? Where should I, what dealers group? Should I go to this dealership across the street, or who's got the best pay plan? Who's got the best whatever? I would look for wherever you can find the best mentor. Every piece of success, or every successful person I've seen in this business is a result of who took the time to train them. I think that's the most valuable asset you can look for in this business. So don't chase the money initially, or don't chase all those different things. That's, I would say, the first thing. The second thing is, it's such an exciting time to be coming into this business. And, you know, a lot of the people that were on the previous panel and people that are still here yet to come, I mean, Brian Benstock's the original disruptor in this business, and he's already shattered a bunch of paradigms that existed. And there's the public retailers and Lithia and so many other people have redefined. When I worked at AutoNation, we worked there.
Yep.
But it redefined what the car business looks like, and it keeps on, that story is being written, and you get to write that story. And I think that there's not many more things that are more exciting than that. It also used to be so transactional, and it wasn't about the experience. Tom Dahl from Subaru proved that you can sell vehicles at scale, volume, profitably. And it's not all about the price, and it's about the experience, and I'm sure he'll talk about that. But you're coming in after there's been a lot of people that have gone through the gauntlet, and it's very cool for me to see, you know, being in the business for 30 years, to think about what the next 30 are going to be. And there's really no business like the car business. So you're lucky to be in it.
Everybody give our panel some love. Fantastic job. We're at Northwood University. Everybody, we will be right back.
We've never met, but we know you. You've got big plans for your career and your life.
Yes, I love it.
You're the overachiever, the go-getter with the entrepreneurial spirit.
This is such a cool idea. We could definitely...
You're also guided by this inner compass, your true north. Yeah, we know you. And maybe it's time for you to know us.
Welcome to Northwood University. We have with us today an incredible panel. We are coming to you live in front of a studio audience here at CAMS at America's Automotive University. This topic, our session today, is going to be on current trends in automotive aftermarket. Ted, this is a great and timely topic today.
It is, Sarah, and we're very humbled and honored to have some amazing panelists with us. So I'm going to ask them to spend just a few moments to introduce themselves with their name, organization, and what they do. And I'll start with Adam here.
I'm Adam Genei. I have a company called Mod Steel, Detroit Steel Wheel Co. We're out of downtown Detroit. I got our start in the custom car building business a couple decades ago. Got into manufacturing in the automotive aftermarket industry, and just had a great career. We've done stuff, shipped product all over the world, been on NBC, History Channel, great events like this. It's just been a great career.
Hey everybody, my name is David Jett. I work for Stevens Inc., and we are so thrilled to be here. We were actually here in April earlier this year. It was my first time coming to this university. Stevens, for those of you who aren't familiar with us, we are a financial firm. I work for our investment banking practice. We have a few different other lines of business, but my focus at Stevens is the automotive aftermarket. So I spend a lot of my time covering services companies. Go to SEMA, Apex every year. I'm hoping to spend time with these gentlemen when I go this year, and excited to talk more about trends in the aftermarket. I'm a senior vice president and I lead the practice. And before I joined Stevens, I was at J.P. Morgan for close to a decade.
I'm glad to be here as well. My name's Ken Lingenfelter. I'm the owner of Lingenfelter Performance Engineering. My company's 50 years old. We've been building performance cars for all those years. We have a shop in Decatur, Indiana. We have a shop in Wixom, Michigan. We have a very large car collection in Brighton, Michigan we use for charity fundraisers. It's not open to the public. And I'm also happen to be a trustee here at Northwood University. So I'm very glad to be here. I'm very proud of this school. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Ken. It feels like, chance to follow a legend like this guy. I can only imagine how the guy that had to hit after Babe Ruth felt. So this is, it's pretty cool to be sitting next to you, Mr. Lingenfelter. My name is Ted Hughes. I'm the executive director of the Aftermarket Warehouse Distributors Association. So we're responsible for parts distribution in the independent aftermarket. We exist entirely within the Auto Care Association, which represents everybody that makes parts, sells parts, or installs parts to fix cars and trucks. So it's about 5 million people and over $500 billion, so roughly 2% of the GDP.
Thank you, Ted. And I'll come to you first. We have had a lot of discussion today about challenges the industry is facing. What is your perspective on what automotive aftermarket can anticipate?
Yeah, and they're pretty simple. Not the challenges, solving them. They're simple to identify, that's for sure. The biggest thing we have right now in our industry is called the right to repair. This is an industry where 70% of vehicle repairs take place in the independent aftermarket. Okay, so when they need, for safety reasons, for convenience reasons, for cost reasons, there has to be really the independent, the ability to do it without having to rely on the OE manufacturers. So that's number one. Number two, and talked about it earlier today, is the technician shortage. There's roughly 900,000 technicians in the independent aftermarket now, and there probably needs to be about 500,000 more. So shaking the stigma of the old grease monkey, the mechanic, but meanwhile, you look at other skilled trades like plumbing, electrical, even HVAC repair. They're becoming a little bit more glamorous nowadays, but it seems like, selfishly, the independent aftermarket technicians are getting captured by that stigma a little bit. So finding a way for us to get past that is a huge challenge. And then the last one is the entire world leans on a global manufacturing footprint. And when you have things like dock strike, you have things like bridge struck and falls in Baltimore. These are things that can cripple our industry, and we have to find a better way to get the parts around.
Ken, your perspective?
Yeah, all the challenges we just heard about, and times 10. It's very, very frustrating trying to find help. And we've, being 50 years old, we've got quite a reputation of quality work and things of that nature. So we're not just looking for the run-of-the-mill guy that can use a wrench and a screwdriver. We've got to be very careful with the kind of individual we add to our staff, because we have a very strong brand to keep up. And it's not a problem I see going away. I think, we've just really going to have to work hard. We may even have to do some of the training and work ourselves to get people to a point where they can fit into our organization. There's a lot of consolidation that's going on as well. Some of it good, some of it not so good, I think. But fact is, for a brand like myself, we're very focused to try and make sure all these issues that we have out there are getting solved. It's a full-time job.
David, the challenges in automotive aftermarket, what would you say the industry is facing now?
Yeah, I definitely echo what was just said. I think the seat that I sit in, right, is more oriented around investors and then folks who own companies in the space, right? So the technician shortage is a big one. A lot of investors are looking at companies in the space and trying to figure out, if I, acquire something here, how can I make sure that the service quality that we're putting out, we can meet the volume of demand, and it also can be a really good service. So I think that's a really, critical piece. If you think about the aftermarket in general, right, COVID was a pretty tumultuous time. The supply chain globally was thrown for a total loop, and that caused a lot of interesting, issues all across the board, all the way down to the dealer, channel. Ended up having a lot of businesses that ordered a lot of product, couldn't get it. Finally, they got it. And, I'd say the industry came down from that prior high, and now there's people who have probably excess inventory that they're working through. Again, investors are looking at businesses on the product side, distribution side, trying to figure out, have we reached the bottom of that, right? And are we back into a more normal growth environment? And then on the services side, it's really tied into, people management, ensuring that you have the right people who can actually work on some of these newer vehicles that have a lot of new technology as well.
Adam, lots of great perspectives so far. What would you say that we're facing?
The bureaucracy obviously is always there. It's always something we're always fighting in the aftermarket. And human capital is everybody's challenge. I've heard that a bunch of times up here today, building leadership, getting techs. I've been on the road with General Motors. We spoke at a bunch of things trying to recruit techs and show them the way and stuff like that, getting people back involved in the trades. And that's all challenges, but one of the ones that we're working on, major challenges, is restoring our intermediate volumes of manufacturing here domestically. That's a huge challenge for us. And the fact that we divest from manufacturing and real sources of wealth cause problems in all these areas for us. Without generating wealth, education and schools and healthcare becomes a problem, but it also becomes a problem in cultivating our next group of workers. If you don't have real wealth for them, and this doesn't look like an investment for them, they're not going to want to do it. And I love the TV shows that we're on that make welding and hitting stuff with a hammer cool, but there still has to be an industry there, and you have to generate wealth and support it. So it's been one of the challenges of our company. We talked the talk, and then when we decided to actually manufacture a product here, we found out how far set back we really were. Machines didn't exist that could hold our tooling. We found ourselves all the way out in California. That's been our main challenge since 2009, has been trying to create the amount of volume here, quality and volume of parts here, to meet our demand. We've been on back order since 2012. So repairing those intermediate volumes, those are where you're going to find your next big winners. Next time somebody needs, big orders for the military or something like that, we're going to find ourselves not being able to manufacture anything here, because that's the case with some stuff right now. So it's causing a lot of problems. So our company is facing that direction. How do we pick the low-hanging fruit and start manufacturing those parts here again, and do it in the right fashion? Do it in a sense that we're here to develop value for our customer and a great seat in our building for that team member. That's our job. That's it.
Great information, everybody. The industry is facing some challenges for sure, yet all of you on the panel are highly successful. I'd like to ask all of you, beginning with Ken. Ken, what opportunities do you see right now? Because many of the panelists earlier today have spoken about this is an exciting time in our industry, and there are huge opportunities. What do you see, and what do you look at, Ken?
Well, it's a great question, and something we think about all the time, obviously, because we've been around 50 years, and I'd like to see us be around a whole lot longer than that. The fact of the matter is, the way even the cars are built these days, there is a little bit more of a challenge. We had a little bit of a gift from the standpoint from General Motors when they built the C8 Corvette. What an amazing car right out of the box. We don't even have to touch it, and it's such a wonderful car, fun to drive, gorgeous to look at, bang for the buck. But our customers always want more. That's always the way it's been. With the management system, engine management system with that car, it came to us completely encrypted. And so for the first year and a half, we had to figure out how we're going to get around this, because we'd always modify the engine and then change the management system to accommodate what we did. And it took a year and a half, but we did break the code. And once we got through it, we're now supercharging the C8 Corvette, and they make about 730 horsepower, and it made a lot of our customers very happy. And as a result, it's things like that we have to work and change our business in order to make sure we stay ahead of the crowd. And as I said, thank goodness for Corvette.
Let me ask Ted, key opportunities for the industry that we're facing right now.
Yeah, it's for us on the non-performance side, the OE replacement side.
Yes.
When you look at key indicators for our industry, you look at things like vehicle miles traveled, average vehicle age, and with an average vehicle age around 13 years right now, the opportunities are going to continue to be strong for our industry. You look beyond that. Another opportunity is anybody that is technology driven, because make no mistake about it, this is a technology world that we're in, and the independent aftermarket is really, really ripe with opportunities. So when you look at those, I think that the fact that there's 300 million internal combustion engines, even if you're counting on electricity, independent aftermarket has a long way to go.
Let me ask our investment banking friend, David, there's got to be a lot of things that cross your desk, a lot of opportunities that you're looking at. If you'd like to speak to maybe a few of them that you're excited about.
Yeah, certainly. I think, technology is big. And so we were just talking about that. An area I'm spending a lot more time in right now is mobile service. So we heard from some of the groups on the dealer side, they're talking about that. I have a Ford F-150. My last service, I actually called my dealership and had them come to my house because I wanted to give it a test run, and it was awesome. I also recently, my wife's car had some damage on her front bumper. I had a mobile collision provider come out and respray the front bumper, and it turned out really well. Didn't need a paint booth. Surprised me, So maybe technology's on that side getting better. But as you think about where this business is going, and you think about cars in general with batteries, all the sensors, technology is going to be an increasing, part of the aftermarket for sure. And I think, as time goes on, can we have technicians and individuals who really understand how it works so that we can, again, get them repaired the right way, efficiently, and in a convenient way too. I think that's really where this is going.
And if I may just to follow up, that skill set of the technician is changing, okay? Because now you mentioned things such as mobile service, doing things that are convenient for the customer, but that may not necessarily be the type of technician that we've had years ago in the industry, and we're looking to attract them today. Adam, your thoughts?
On EV?
No, on opportunities the industry faces.
Oh, well, I think there's always, you create your own opportunity. I think time industry gives us, sometimes more opportunity and sometimes less opportunity, depending on how tough of a year it is and where you're sitting. But I think there's lots of opportunity. I think all the change that we're seeing in the industry, whether it's good or bad, opens a door. We're heading into a season, and Ken and I were talking about this. It's tough. We've in this industry, and the dealership guys, they said it. They know it's ups and downs. That's the way it's always been. And it becomes your ability on the foresight of those things coming. And my company over and over again in the bad times has lurched forward. So we started a company in the bad times. So all we see is opportunity. Problems are there for us to solve. That's what we're there to do. And we open our arms up and invite them in. And in some of the worst economies and worst years, we made leaps forward. Procured equipment, people, did what we had to do, and I think that's going to be, we know going into this economy that we're tough, and we know that we're going to do some big things. So it's there, whether it's good times or bad times. But bad times seem to produce a little more opportunity for me than the good times.
Makes sense.
So much conversation around resiliency and the ability to bounce back and continue to be strong. And today we're at Northwood University. A lot of the conversation in automotive aftermarket, our students in the audience today, would certainly be thinking about, what do I need to focus on as I'm entering the automotive industry and the aftermarket component. Ted, what would you suggest that students be thinking about, and what can the other executives in our audience be thinking about in their businesses?
From a student perspective, I think the most important thing is to be flexible, and with that, so as it relates to what you're thinking about, you might come on campus here and be set on supply chain or logistics management programs, real popular right now. So it's what you're going to go for, and then through the involvement, especially at a school here like Northwood, for the ability to get in the real world and see how things go, you might find out that you really love talking to people way more than you ever knew, and so you pivot to a sales or a marketing type of profession. They're all available in this industry, and so don't get too lost in what you think you know, because once you get on campus here, you find out quickly that there is way more you don't know. So that's my advice there.
I would suggest that you understand, at least in my business, and I'm sure others that are up here too, enthusiasts aren't going away. The enthusiasts are as strong as they can be, and all you have to do is go to events like an Indy 500 or some of the major really gatherings. We go to a show called Corvettes at Carlisle in Pennsylvania, and I mean there are people everywhere, and people who really, really enjoy their car and really enjoy making it go faster or race it better or look better or whatever the case may be. There's plenty of opportunity in the aftermarket side of the business in order to help us take care of these enthusiasts and really kind of get them what they want. And that's the one thing that inspires me and helps me believe that, whatever comes down the pike, we can handle, because the enthusiasts are still there and loving it. So.
I think that as I reflect on my career, a big element of it that I think has translated and done really well for me is I happen to be a car enthusiast and was one well before I started in this career path. So for those of you at Northwood, I think, you're probably all car enthusiasts yourself. You wouldn't be here necessarily if you weren't. But I think having the passion for the industry that you go into is really important. Any job has tasks and things you have to get through that are unpleasant, but if you ultimately like the industry that you're in, the people that you're working with, I think, getting through those tasks is a lot easier. Then you have really high highs, right? When you have certain instances in your career where you achieve something great, build a new car that you're excited about, for example. For me, do a new deal, work with new clients. I think having that passion, it shows through and it leads to a better work product and a more successful career.
As a business owner and as somebody who started a business, and there's one thing that I've realized, it carries across all industries, and we're talking about the automotive industry here, but this is divided up in a bunch of different things. You can be in finance, you can be a tech, you can be whatever. This applies to everything. You can leave here and you can get taught all this great stuff by the school, but what's going to separate you guys is the first link in the chain. It's your willingness to activate it. That's what's going to separate you guys. It's not what you know, it's not your talent. If you're not willing to activate it, you can leave all that talent on the table. Somebody's going to outperform you. So I found it's the free stuff to us that I like to remind people. You take all that information, all that knowledge, leave here. It's the free tools, being diligent, the way you do virtuous work with the people around you, the effort you put into things, right? Your willingness to outwork everybody around you, your willingness to perform, and the way your behavior, really, at the end of the day, becomes your vessel for success. So, that's my advice. I see a lot of talented people, meet a lot of talented people come in my building, and they just don't activate it. And it's like, well, that's great. If we could get you to activate it, you could really land somewhere and start to decide your own journey for yourself, right? Don't let somebody decide it for you. You activate it, go after it, do it with some diligence and some virtue, and you'll find yourself creating some success. And that's the connection to this word passion, right? If you don't like what you're doing, you're not going to activate it. That's what they're talking about passion. Like what you're doing. Find what you like to do, and you're not going to work a day in your life. That's what it's about.
Gentlemen, you're all very active at Northwood University, some of you for a long period of time, okay? Last question for today, a lightning round, all right? If you had to talk to your peers in the aftermarket and tell them why you originally got involved with Northwood University and why they should consider getting involved with Northwood, what would you tell them? You've got a minute each. I'll start here with Adam. We'll go right down the line, finishing up with my friend Ted.
First of all, it's validating for myself, my company, to be here, to be at a university that's automotive oriented, to talk here and maybe give some advice, maybe not. So, but in the industry, the beginning, the middle, the end, immerse yourself, understand how people get there, how they create success. I'm here in this university because I wasn't a huge scholar. I went to school, but I spent a lot of time with Dr. Matt Bennett there at another university. I spent 6 years with them on the board, and I educated myself of the value of higher ed and why we need it, because I was out preaching trades the whole time. So there's a lot of value here, and there's a lot of knowledge and information that I've gained and I apply in our business every day.
Yeah, I think for me, the student body has a real passion about learning. Certainly a passion about the automotive space too. As someone who is trying to surround myself with more and more individuals in that sector, I love coming here. I love networking here. Excited to speak with some of the students later, and I hope I can be a good resource. But this has been an awesome, place for me to come, and I hope to come many more years into the future.
You're hearing the word passion quite a bit, and passion is the kind of thing that really drives us to do what we do. I've had a passion since I saw my first split-window Corvette back in 1963. The fact of the matter is, follow your passion. If you're working in your passion, it can make all the difference in the world, and this is a great place at Northwood here to get the training you need to do that.
Yeah, I can, having a son that's a junior in high school, I can come at this from a little bit different perspective. I wasn't fortunate enough to be a graduate from Northwood University. I'm proud that I graduated college, but when I look at what the college that I went to prepared me for, it certainly isn't anywhere near on par with what the opportunities are here, thanks to the faculty and staff and curriculum at Northwood. So when you see people in our industry and in the aftermarket management program graduating and basically having a bidding war among the industry suppliers, distributors, shops. So you look at that, that's stability. And when you have a life of providing for children, families, whatever, you want stability, and this industry has it.
What a wonderful panel, Sarah.
Incredible information with us today.
Everybody, please give it up for our aftermarket panel. We're at Northwood University, everybody. We'll be right back.
Go mad!
Go mad! Go mad!
Go mad!
We're here live at Northwood University today. We are at the CAM Summit. We are at America's University. This panel today, dealer relationships and customer experience panel. Ted, we have a star-studded group with us.
I'm excited about this panel, Sarah Vantine. So we have some great industry leaders and voices here. I'm going to have you each introduce yourselves and tell us what you do, starting with Eric.
Thank you, and I want to start by saying thank you to Northwood, thank you to LG, thank you for this incredible student body. Thanks for having us here. Thank you for all that you do in this industry. You guys are hugely important to cultivating leadership for this industry. My name is Eric Flo. I am the Chief Operating Officer of Flo Automotive Companies. We own about 55 dealerships in North Carolina and Virginia, and we are blessed to be able to come up to Northwood a couple times a year to try and recruit and hire some of you wonderful people down to North Carolina.
Hi there, and also want to echo my thanks. Thanks to Northwood for allowing us to be here today, and this wonderful panel, to all the students as well. Lots of exciting things coming up this weekend, I hear. So very excited to be here. It's my very first time. So thrilled to be on the panel. I'm Grace Huang. I'm president of Inventory Solutions for Cox Automotive. Most people will know me as president of Mannheim. So we sell a lot of cars.
And I am Don Hall, and I flew in a private jet, and a big limo picked me out front, thanks to Eric. So I know who the dealers are, and it was great. So thank you, Eric. I run the Virginia Auto Dealers Association. All the new car dealers in Virginia are my clients. I've had the privilege of serving them for 36 years. I spent 9 years in the retail car business prior to that, being a general manager, sales manager, F&I manager. And even prior to that, I was a United States Marine, which I'm most proud of, for 4 years, active duty, over 50 years ago as a young guy.
My name is Shawn Leibold. I'm with Reynolds & Reynolds. I did not come in a limo, and I did not come in a plane, but I left beautiful Dayton, Ohio at 3:45 this morning to get here in a beautiful Toyota. And so I'm just happy to be here. I really I love Northwood. I was just telling my colleague Dave Bates when we were walking around, I'm like, this is just such a beautiful place. You students are so blessed to have a campus like this and a great college. So anyways, thanks for having me.
We have a lot of questions for our panel today. So kicking it off, Eric, I'll come to you first. With dealer relationships and customers and thinking about all of the potential challenges in the sales and service process, what would you say today are the main challenges dealers are facing?
Yeah, for us, I think the main challenges that I see dealer face, or that I'm going to speak mainly from my point of view of Flo, which is how do we come to market in a differentiated way that helps customers really experience a dealer different than a lot of other dealers, right? So you go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, people didn't have warranties, people weren't nice to you, people really strongly negotiated everything, tried to get every last dollar out of every deal. There were a few dealers who said, no, we're different, we treat customers right, et cetera. Nowadays, there's not a dealer out there that doesn't say, oh, we're the different dealer, we're the better dealer, you know. Everybody says that. And at the end of the day, a lot of us are selling similar products or same product, right? And so the experience we have to create in store, in market with our customers has to be different than other dealers for us to stand out. And there's a lot of technical hurdles to that, and then there's a lot of human capital hurdles to that. You know, from a dealer perspective, our data and the systems that we use are hugely fragmented, right? A lot of what we spend our time doing is saying, hey, we have 20 or 30 different systems or data partners, and we have to figure out how to string all that together so that we can deliver a solution to our customer that is different than the solution that the dealer down the road might have. Because if we can't be different in their experience and how they interact with us, we can't stand out. And then on the human capital side, we have to recruit and train incredible talent that knows how to build value with customers and who understands what we do. And what we do is not sell cars and do oil changes. What we do is provide solutions to transportation issues and create freedom for people trying to live their lives and go to work, go to church, take their kids to soccer practice. And if they have that orientation, then we think we'll be successful. But to me, those are the biggest problems. How do you stand out? How do you be different? And how do you have great people?
Grace, your perspective on the challenges and the relationships between customers and dealers.
Yeah, so being part of Mannheim, our customers are actually the folks here. It's the dealers. And so we think about client experience a little bit differently. We want to make it really, really easy for dealers to do business with us so that they can make it easy to do business with their end customer. And so we've been leveraging and investing in a lot of technology, including AI, because we know that to make it easy, buying online is key. And so we sell roughly 70% of our vehicles online today, whether that's simulcast, if those are familiar with simulcast, or completely on a digital platform. So our goal is always make it as good as being in person, being part of the wholesale auctions. So we think about it a little bit differently, but technology is definitely one of the biggest things we're leveraging right now to make that easier.
Don, what is your perspective from the dealer and the customer experience piece?
Well, what we do in the association world is a couple things. One, we want to make sure we educate dealers about how to be better with customers. What are the latest trends and how to make sure that customers have great buying experiences. One of my jobs is to make sure we pass laws that protect the customer's buying experience and what the customer values the most, and that is the honesty and the integrity of the deal and the way that they buy their cars. So we protect both the dealers and the consumers, but sometimes have to drag our OEMs into some of these arguments with us to make sure we take care of customers as well. So we know as an association, it's all about the customer buying experience. And that's where we spend all of our time reminding dealers that this is about customers. And sometimes having an outsider telling them that, especially an outsider who's a Marine, who's got a lot of experience in this industry, it's helpful for them to be reminded it's all about the customer. And I'll finish with this comment. It's all about the customer. But if we don't have happy staff, we'll never have happy customers. Take care of our people first and foremost, and they will indeed take care of those who buy cars from us.
Shawn, what is your perspective on the customer experience from the Reynolds point of view?
First of all, I think I drew the short straw on having to follow Don every single time. So from Reynolds' perspective, it kind of goes along the lines of what Don just said. We try to make the transaction seamless. We try to make the transaction transparent through our technology. We try to make it easy flowing. To kind of Eric's point too, we try to help the process be different. So, we have solutions like DocuPad, which, are basically the cutting edge type technologies that kind of make that buying experience very memorable for the client because they feel like they're being able to be a bigger part in that process. It also helps the dealers be compliant, but it creates a special experience for the client. So,
I'd like to ask you all about areas in which you feel dealers need to improve. I mentioned earlier we're in the fourth quarter now, heading into a new year in just a matter of weeks. Don Hall, I'd like to start with you. You represent a lot of dealers in Virginia. And Don, I don't want you to be shy about this. Areas that you feel that dealers need to be focused on and improving.
I see my friend Brian out here in the audience today, so he'll recognize some of these comments for sure. Look, at the end of the day, I get people saying, look, we've got a great vacation policy at our dealership. I said, oh, what's that? Well, we give you 2 weeks after the first full week of employment. Then you get 2 weeks. 2 weeks. If you look in the papers in Richmond, Virginia, and every other major city in the country, they'll hire you with 3 weeks vacation to begin with. They'll bring you into the retirement plans right away. They give you great health benefits and so forth. We're competing in the open marketplace to bring in great people to organizations. We have to give them the kinds of things that others are willing to give them. We have a tendency not to do that. My view is let's spend a little bit of our retained earnings. Maybe we make a little bit less. But I promise you, and I do promise you this, if you do that, you'll sell more cars, you'll have happier people, and you'll make more gross because we always know the history has always been we make a lot of money on a customer, we treat them really well, and they're very happy with their buying experience. So if you take care of your people, give them benefits that matter, give them retirement, give them a vacation, and understand their kids have soccer on Tuesday afternoon at 3 o'clock, give them time off to go to that. You take care of them, you're going to be one happy dealer and one happy dealership, network, and organization.
Don, you mentioned that Eric is one of your dealers.
Eric's not one of my dealers. He's also my board of directors. And they're one of those organizations that is embodying and embracing these kinds of concepts. Or many others, including the Carter Myers Automotive Group. There are many dealers who are doing this, but not enough. We still have many who are holding back from doing what's right by the people that work in the stores. We have to do that. We don't need unions to do it for us. We can do it because we care about those who sacrifice to be in our wonderful industry.
Eric, I'll come to you. Areas that you feel your fellow dealers need to improve or to be focused on?
Yeah, sure. So I still think the vast majority of the dealer body is way too myopic, and you saw this during COVID. Dealers selling cars way over MSRP that they knew was going to put customers in a terrible situation 2 years later. That was going to make that customer never want to come back to that dealership, right? So we're entirely too focused on right now and not a long-term customer relationship. I still don't think dealers are transparent enough in pricing and how they come to market with customers. There's too much negotiating that still happens that is really astounding to me in 2024. And then we still don't know how to really let customers shop and buy the way they want to. And, my solution for the dealers, in my opinion, are the best suited to be able to compete in an omni-channel world. We have the brick and mortar, it's old, it's amortized, it's sunk cost, it's already there. We should be able to outcompete any online-only provider, and we all have online media assets that we should be able to leverage to help customers buy cars fully online or anywhere in between. We also have point hub and spoke distribution networks called dealerships already set up to be able to deliver cars to customers. So I really think we're missing the ball in that area still. We've made progress, but a lot of us are really stuck in trying to force customers into a single purchase pathway still.
Shawn, you work with a lot of dealers at Reynolds and Reynolds, and you're on the forefront of being very good at seeing things and seeing needs before they happen. What's happening now at Reynolds in terms of areas that you feel that dealers need to be focused on and improving?
I think some of the really cool things that are going on in the industry, and I think it helps dealers gain some of that trust back from the consumers. Things like the videoing of service inspections in the back end, and then sending those videos to the client while they're at work, and they can show them the brake pads are going bad, and they can actually see it. Whereas in the past, you just had to trust the tech or the advisor, and you never saw the picture. So I think some of the things that are going on in the back end of the dealership are really, really cool things that are going to help the consumer get some more of that trust back, to Eric's point.
That trust. Before I come to Grace, I want to do a quick follow-up with Don Hall, if I could, on those technician videos, because we have techs now, being the face of the dealership and representing the dealership, customer-facing, okay? Your thoughts on that?
Well, we've always sort of struggled. Those of us that were front-end guys never understood the back end, if you will. It is the most important end of the business, in my view. Many of us now are forming and getting really engaged in career and technical education. Techs are our future, and it takes smart young people who want to work on today's vehicles. And oh, by the way, they make really good money. They're very valuable to us, and as I say so often, by putting your son or daughter into that profession, they can work anywhere in the world doing what they do. Now, we hope they stay where they're at for a long period of time. Techs have become very, very valuable. I think the average dealer today recognizes and understands that, and as a result, we're doing a much better job in attracting and hopefully keeping them gainfully employed for a long period of time, because techs are our future. And if you deal with the manufacturers, they will tell you as well, it's a big part of what we do today, and that's repairing vehicles, and that will continue.
I just want to add, the feedback that we get from customers about things like technician videos is astounding. And one of the things I think that stands out about it is sort of in the 2024 Instagram filter, everything staged world, having this sort of authentic person walk you through a car really connects with people. It's remarkable. But, text videos from technicians is sort of one of those issues that it's a great point solution, right? But you think about the dealership tech stack, and it's this point solution that's not integrated with everything else necessarily. And so as an industry, we have to say, okay, we've solved, we have a CRM, we can email people. We have a texting solution. We have a video solution. We have a multi-point inspection solution. Are we sending customers all of these different communications from some different random number, and it's not in a handheld? I mean, if you think about what you would do in any other industry, if you were at some resort and you signed in and you got an app, and every piece of communication, your dining reservations, a concierge, whatever, all came to some sort of centralized portal, We have a lot of individual point solutions in our industry, but they're not brought together in a consolidated viewpoint where a customer can really interact with them and have this centralized place to handle issues with that dealer. It's a big need.
Yeah, I wanted to go back just quickly to the buying process. So at Cox Automotive, one of the things we're really, really focused on is to help the dealers on the two sides of me make that omni-channel much more seamless. We know that customers want to be able to come in and out of that buying, whether that's online or physically. And as Eric said, the biggest benefit is the fact that there are physical assets. Vehicles are a physical thing, as we all know. It needs to be touched, it needs to be handled. And by the way, they're getting way more complicated, especially with EVs, and you want that personal touch. But you also want to be able to do it at the comfort of home. And that's what we're most proud of, is that to be here to really help all the dealers get there and give them the tools so it is seamless, so it isn't switching between multiple different platforms and so forth. And so we're here to support the dealers to continue to really improve that buying process and to make it the way the future wants it. And also respect the fact that there are people that might still want to come in the store, and that's okay.
Ted, if I can make one quick comment. One of the things that concerns me, we heard great things about what techs are doing, but we also have manufacturers right now who are not treating those techs right in the way they're paying warranty work. We're working hard to level that playing field to make sure that techs want to work on warranty work rather than customer pay work. And this is a real problem. And so manufacturers need to hear this loud and clear. In order to keep our techs happy and have these kind of experiences they're referring to, we have to keep them. And we're not going to keep them working on warranty issues unless the manufacturers open up their eyes and are willing to pay properly, so that those techs say, boss, I'm happy to work on a warranty repair versus a customer pay repair.
We're here at Northwood University, and the topic today that we've been discussing so much, Ted and Eric, you mentioned something about the customer experience and some of the best practices that you're doing at Flow Automotive. What advice would you be giving students and those looking, to really improve that experience for their customer base?
Yeah, so the advice I would give students is to remember, and I said this a little bit earlier, but it's really central and core, that what you're selling is not a car in a tire rotation or oil change. You're selling the ability for families to really live their lives. And if you remember that and you frame your orientation around that, and that's how you approach every sort of human interaction you have, I think that is the point of view that helps you understand the importance of what you're doing. Bigger picture in this industry, from a customer experience world, we think in dealerships that we have a lot of processes, those of us who are successful. Go to a manufacturing plant, we don't have processes. Go to a surgery room, we don't have processes. We have ideas of processes, right? And so we've been living in a world for a long time where it was human-led, tech-enhanced. For us to really make a jump to have this sort of homogeneous experience with our customers in the way we want to, we have to make a jump to a tech-led, human-enhanced experience, where technology is leading the experience and humans are enhancing the experience where humans add value. It's not an anti-human thing. I think humans make a ton of difference in the retail experience. They just only make the difference where they need to. Are you really telling me a human needs to appraise a 4-year-old Honda with 60,000 miles on it with a clean Carfax? Humans do not need to do that. Do humans need to appraise a 12-year-old car that's a one-off with this and that and maybe an issue or two? Sure, that's where humans can add value. Do humans need to be involved with, multiple lien holders and proof of income and some bad credit situation? Yes, humans need to be involved in that. That's where the human element makes a big difference. Do humans need to be involved in an 800 beacon, 30% down purchase? Not necessarily. So we have to embrace where humans make a big difference and then let technology take care of the areas where humans don't have to make that difference.
Grace, how are you seeing the customer experience evolve?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, again, it is using technology. As I mentioned, we're implementing AI. And when I say AI, it sounds very, very scary, but humans are very much still in the loop. And so when I think about the advice for all the future graduates here in the room, a couple things, right? First, stay curious. Our industry is changing so fast, and I know that the technology that's out there is going to change the way we look at the world very, very soon. And lots of companies across the board, lots of dealerships are testing a whole bunch of different things. So stay curious and stay flexible. There's a lot of change coming. And then for new graduates going into the workplace, there's two things that I always look for. Initiative. Look, if you take initiative, no one is ever going to fault you for taking initiative. So lean in and learn as much as you can. And last but not least, it is still very much a relationship business, no matter what part of the automotive industry you're in. Whether you're working with team members or you're working with clients or vendors, it's a relationship business. So just make sure that, as you're thinking about your senior year, it is about getting good grades. I don't want any parents mad at me here. But it's also about cultivating the relationships and the opportunities you have here at Northwoods. You will be working with some of the folks in your graduating class, in the classes above you and the classes below you in your career. So make the most out of your senior year and make the most out of the relationships that you start building here at Northwoods.
Shawn, your perspective.
What was the question? So I'll echo what Grace said as well. Is I think that Reynolds did a really cool thing this past NADA. We took some Northwood students to NADA on our dime. They were our interns for a couple days at NADA, and they really were an extension of us on the floor. They were able to roam the halls and provide us with some feedback, kind of to Grace's point. We wanted curious kids, curious young people out there, seeing things from a different lens. And I can tell you that you guys are so much more prepared than other college students that I see. It's amazing what Northwood has done with you. Obviously, selfishly, we would love to hire you. So kind of... He's got cooler hair than I do, so I mean, he might be more fun. So, but no, in all honesty, we sincerely appreciate the partnership with Northwood, and you guys are very, very blessed to have come out here. So I'm getting 2 minutes.
Don, your perspective, customer experience, advice for our students today.
Get in this industry because you love people. If you love people, you'll have a great career. If you're willing to work hard and be honest and love people, no matter whether you work with our partners to my left and my right, or in the retail business itself, love people, and this is a great choice. And the years will go by so quick, and you'll love your careers.
All right, lightning round, last question, 30 seconds for each panelist, starting with Eric, and then we'll go right down the line, finishing with Shawn. If you had to speak to the Northwood student body, which many of you have been doing, one thing you'd recommend in terms of their career choices and moving forward, this is your chance, and what you'd like to share with them, starting with Eric Flo.
I'm going to say this, and it's going to sound very self-serving, and it is, but it doesn't mean it's not true. If you want to stay in automotive, the best thing you can do is go spend time in retail first. And I think Don Hall will echo this. If you really want to be a manufacturer, I would, on the manufacturer, component, or supplier side, I would never try to convince you to stay in retail your whole life. But I'll tell you this, whether you're making cars or you're making parts, eventually they have to be sold. And if you understand how they get sold, because that's where the final value stream is, then that will help you if you move upstream of that, whether it's on the component end, the aftermarket end, or the OEM end. And what I have seen before is that in the OEM world, people who have a lot of time in retail are very valuable to the OEMs if they move into that OEM world. So I think retail is a great place to start. North Carolina has wonderful weather. We have a great program. Here you go, Grace.
You know what? I won't argue against Eric. Retail is a great place to start. But after that, come join us on the wholesale side. If you want to move a lot of cars, like over 4 million a year, come join us at Mannheim. It's a different world out there.
Nothing beats New York.
Brian's putting in his 30 cents. No, but serious. This is a great industry, and honestly, you can't go wrong wherever you start. Go with your passions is where I would say.
The beautiful thing about this industry, no matter who you are, where you came from, what color you are, what sex you are, your preferences in life, what church you go to, you can excel in the auto industry. What a great choice. I'm happy for those of you that are embarking upon this trip in life, and I hope you have as much joy as many of us in this room have had, having been in this industry for a long time.
Still a tough act to follow, but I think my advice to the student body would be it is an awesome industry. It's an amazing industry that opens up doors all over the place. Whether you work in the retail like an Eric, you can move around in departments. Auto is such a resilient industry as well. Yes. You know, it's got ebbs and flows, but for the most part, I mean, it's, you know, if car sales are down, fixed ops is up. You know, if car sales are up, back end's up. So it's just a fun industry to be a part of. Visit us at rayray.com for applications. Technology is awesome. We're growing like crazy. We're trying to help the automotive retail space grow like crazy. So just look into technology as well. So,
Shawn, Don, Grace, and Eric, great job. This panel is a tough act to follow. Let's give it up for the panel, everybody. Great job. We're at Northwood University. We're going to be coming right back.